Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much, Isabel. It's good to be with you today.
Yeah, it's very nice that you made yourself available for this chat with
Hmm.
me because, as you know, on my channel, I work with people who want to improve their careers and they
Right.
want to understand Switzerland, what type of opportunities, what is this world going to bring to us. So I
Hmm.
thought you'd be the perfect person because you have a very rich career working in human resources. And you've done some really amazing things. So maybe that's where we
Thanks.
start for
Thanks.
now, is that you can tell us a little bit more about what you did and your
Hmm.
experience in Switzerland and how you started your own consultancy.
Yep. Okay. Thanks a lot. It's really a pleasure to be with you today. So I'm Swiss to start with. Was born in Geneva. I've traveled. My passion. One of my passion is travel. So I initially started my career in hotel industry, in the hotel management, because I thought that would give me a good opportunity to travel. And then when I came back from working in the US and in New York, I discovered a passion for HR. And I was lucky at the time to get a job with Levi Strauss, the jeans company. And I could set up new plants, new factories, new offices in Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And that's how I started my career in HR. And I stayed in HR for about 30 years, mostly in international organizations, but also in Swiss, more local and smaller organizations, until the point where I became the CHRO for a large group of 90,000 plus employees across 150 countries. Have gone through massive reorganizations, initiatives of transformation, change, HR technology, but also mergers, acquisitions across industries and countries. So I think I consider myself a world citizen, but I keep my Swiss roots. That's important for me. And I created my company after I turned 50. And I looked at my professional life with total different eyes. And to tell you the truth, to open my company was a big learning curve. But I'm so happy and grateful I can do that now. And I think it's definitely different to have done that when I was more than 50 and when I had 30 years of experience to back me up and provide true expertise, experience, and support to my current clients. And I now serve clients across 10, 12 countries. So not only in Switzerland, and mostly in career reinvention. And I insist on the reinvention and not the transition. It's really to help my clients ask themselves the right questions in terms of who they are and where they would feel most at ease when it comes to work. So busy, happy, and extremely passionate about what I do.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I think a lot of people will want career reinvention. I think
Mhm.
we'll talk about that during this live, but I think the fact that we have now the stay-at-home model, some people might actually enjoy it and say, you know what, I can actually do my work from home. I'm more efficient, more
Yeah.
targeted. So when we spoke together, and I know we had this conversation several times, when we realized that the world is changing in front of our eyes, what will be the biggest changes in your views?
Um, for me, the crisis that have gone through the past 6, 7 weeks really served as a catalyst. Some changes was already in the pipeline. It's not new that we work from home, but COVID-19 has really created the pressure, the tension, the urgency as a catalyst, as oil on the fire, as we say, and created that urgency in terms of adapting to new ways of working. So it has changed the way we work. It has changed the way we socialize. It has changed the way we lead as an organization leader, but also the way we sell to clients, the way we collaborate as a team, and the way we have to innovate and cooperate between team members. So it has really changed the whole span. And as you very rightly say, some of them jumped on it like, oh, great, I love it, and I can do that forever. Others have jumped or have joined the board progressively and now can manage it, but still look forward to going back to the normal workplace. And those who really struggle for different reasons, whether it's family reasons, it's not that obvious to work from home when you're a single person or when you have kids around or dog barking. And it also depends on the work that you do. So working from home is not necessarily possible for a lot of people. You know, if you work at the airport checking passengers going on board, you can't do that from home with the best will. It's just not possible. If you drive a bus, it's not possible neither. So some of the jobs that people do is simply not possible from home.
So that leads me to think, what do you see as far as changes that you're already experiencing with your current clients, whether they be companies or individuals, in how we're going to work, how we're going to manage our time, how we're going to engage with each other? What do you see as potential trends that maybe people can think about and prepare for? Right?
Yeah. Well, some of my clients, whether it's companies or individuals, are adapting their working from home policy or practices. So, for instance, some would allow it once per week or for exceptional reason, and they are now going to expand to give more flexibility, but also to expand the possibility to work from home. That can be the case, but it's also, as you say, managing the time and the constraints. Some of my clients actually say that now they work more from home than they used to at the office, and they start 7:30 or 8 in the morning until 8 at night. So they actually work more from home. But some other clients say, well, now I can focus much more working from home than when I'm at the office. So it does change the focus, it does change the concentration, it does change the organization in terms of time, but also the discipline to say, now I start or now I stop, and not find excuses to quickly do the laundry or watering the plants or something that is not part of the job. But also on the other side, those who can't stop because they have a lot to do and they like what they do, and then the discipline is they stop. I need to balance my life. So it's as much valid now than at the workplace. But it's also setting the boundaries with the environment around. It can be the family, can be the neighbors. Is to explain, now I'm in front of my computer, I'm actually working. And it's funny because some of the family members of my clients now get the words and the language of the person who was working. So the other day I was running a group session, and the kid of some of the participants say, "Oh, who is it? Who's that lady on the screen?" And they actually participate in the discussion, or they use words like, "Oh, Dad, so you're going to have your Zoom session now, or you're going to have your call now," which they didn't know before. So it really has changed the barrier between being at work and being at home, because now home is part of work. And when we have sessions like we have now, we can see part of the home features, the books and the backgrounds and the garden or the kids or the dogs and so on. So we have more intimacy and authenticity. But it's not always easy when the kid wants to play and you can't because you're in the conference call with your boss or with your colleagues. So it requires discipline. What I've seen, three things that would come to mind in terms of keywords about the way we work and the way we get things organized and the way we engage is more flexibility. more discipline at the same time, more autonomy and more responsibility, but also more authenticity and relationship that is possible because we can have also casual virtual meeting, casual or virtual apéro time or virtual lunches or virtual. It's not only meetings, but also some of my clients have virtual socialize moments that they do with pleasure, or virtual exercise or music or whatever. So the virtual world has changed not only the way we work, but the way we actually live and interact with other people and other human beings.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we see that now everywhere online. Now you can start doing exercise and all kinds of things, online. I have a question from Vladislav, so I'll just post it now. Vladislav says, hello, could you describe the situation in the IT sphere in Switzerland nowadays? How many people are fired? Wow, that's direct.
I'm not sure if I have the count of how many people are fired, but what I see talking with the IT colleagues or IT clients or IT departments of my clients is there's definitely more pressure, because everything relies on the ability of a company now to have the systems, the network, the hardware and the software and the IT environment to actually function. Today, a company that doesn't have a solid IT environment can simply not work at the moment. And just to give you an example, a company that is close to me had been thinking about providing laptops and VPNs to their employees for years, and always delaying because of budget, because of priorities, and so on. And then when came the crisis, they had to do it in 2 days. So imagine 2 days for thousands of employees. It creates a lot of tension for the IT department. I think the IT specialists or professionals, some of them might be fired because of the company where they work, but also some of them will be sold because the IT pressure is more and more. So it's more the flux of either being fired, being recruited as well. I see that a lot at the moment in Switzerland, but also the competencies or the skills that will be needed in IT that were not necessary before. And that requires also the IT people to be coaches or to help their colleagues in becoming more at ease or more comfortable with using the IT platform that they have, using the right platform, installing or making available other platforms that are needed either for the business or for their colleagues to function well. So I'm not so sure that it will be a firing time. In my view, it's going to be more a hiring and upskilling time in a minimum of, with a lot of pressure, because it will have to happen quickly.
Yeah, and this gentleman happens to be a developer, so I think definitely developers will be needed because companies will be upscaling, as you say, and developing their digital presence. And
that's true.
To me, it seems like one of the best jobs to have these days, probably, if you have to choose.
Also, if I may just add one thing about developers and IT skills in general, is that the pace of new programs or new skills is going to be even quicker, and with no choice of delaying it, because now it's kind of a survival mode, not only health-wise but business-wise. So either you get quickly to new skills or new capacities in terms of companies and individuals. So the pressure in terms of developing new languages in terms of IT is going to be needed and quickly. So it will put pressure both on IT people, but also on recruiters to make sure that they can find the people that have the skills that are needed today and in the near future, and do that quickly. So the pressure is big, in my view.
Yeah, there will be a lot of pressure to do all this.
Yeah.
How, maybe you can also share some information related to how you see career reengineering. I'm very interested in this because that's your consultancy and that's what you do. So, well, how do you work? What kind of things do you see now in the workforce in terms of career reengineering?
Yes, the career reengineering is beyond upskilling or reskilling yourself. It's also managing uncertainty, because when you have to, or you think, or you wish to reinvent a career that is closer to your skills or passions or values and so on, that's the dream part. But at the same time, our brain say, oh, but yeah, you're crazy, it's not going to work, and you're not going to be successful, and you're not going to make it. So we have our two voices, where our brains on one side sends positive messages, and on the other side limiting beliefs and limiting talk as well, that delays the decision. The thing is, now some people might be forced to reinvent themselves, whereas in the past it was more their decision to recreate a professional life that really was more aligned with their passions and values and their skills. However, there are techniques and tools that exist to make sure that both the mindset and the learning new skills are in place and can be used to accelerate the change, and to be ready with more serenity, with a better preparation, and not jumping into what we think would be good because it's good for the neighbor, or it's good for my friend, or it's good for my colleague, so it's going to be good for me. Every person is different, has different constraints, different possibilities, but it's really opening up the mind and the possibilities to things that we never thought about before. And it's looking at us as a brand, which in Switzerland is not that common, because our education is more, keeping a low profile and being humble. So when we talk about personal branding, a lot of people say, oh, it's going to be about showing off and, putting ourselves on a platform, and they're not comfortable at all with that. Or changing the way they network and look for a different kind of job. So it's also changing that belief that branding yourself is not selling yourself to any cost and in any way, but a very professional approach and techniques that can be used. But it's also discovering what is possible. So it's adopting yourself as a brand, as a solution provider, as a value provider, and then finding out what the market truly needs. And that's not so new. It happened in the 19th century, in the 20th century. The difference now is it goes faster, and it's new jobs are being created that we are not even aware of. And digital is both a catalyst and also a constraint. But there are many, many jobs that are created that people are not aware, but also possibilities that they need to discover. And it's both the excitement and the exploration that is great, but at the same time, it's the limitation, the upgrading, the upskilling, and the management of the mindset to make it possible and not make it as a wishy-washy dream that some people say, yeah, but it's good, it's only good for others, or I will do it when, I will do it when I have money on the side. I will do it when my husband or my wife will have a good job, and then I can, take the risk. Or I will do it when the kids grow older and they're out of. So the delaying of the decision is coming from fears, and that's a lot of what I do, is fear management and transforming that into possibilities more than fears. So it's about that, and it's really available to many people, much more than we think. And the other thing is that beyond delaying it, when it's also being clear on who I am and what I can do and why. So the why is getting more and more important, not only for organizations like my friend Simon Sinek would say, but it's also very important for us. And to give you an example, I've recently interviewed a professional in HR who approached me and said, look, I've been in HR for more than 10 years now. I'm getting a bit tired of the function and the profession, and I really want to explore other type of jobs and professional activities. And then I said, so what are you doing at the moment? He said, well, I'm looking for a job. I said, oh, so what kind of job? He said, well, HR. I said, well, but you just said, you don't want to do that anymore. And say, yeah, but it's not reasonable to follow your dreams. So there's a lot of what is reasonable and what is not reasonable. For me, to be reasonable is definitely to make sure that you have full clarity on what you can do and who you are, that you define clearly what you could do, and then that you put in place a plan. I'm convinced that when you're doing something that you're convinced about, that you enjoy, that you're competent for, it does make much more sense for your employee, for your employers, for your customers, and for yourself. For me, that's much more reasonable than staying in a career, in a position where you feel miserable every day.
Yeah, and at the end it strikes you, because even if you live with it for many years, where you say, you convince yourself basically, well, sure, I go there because, again, you say the reasonable part.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So you convince yourself that this is the right way to go about it. But in the end, it's probably at some point it happens to you where, you have some talks with individuals around you and you think, I'm not in the right place. And why did I choose this when in the end, sure, I know exactly what I want? Sure. But as you say, it's the fear. Mm-hmm. It's also, I think now a lot of people will be faced with decision making where, do I keep doing what I don't like, but it's a safe choice because right now I can be too picky type of a thing?
Yeah.
Or do I take a leap, and I've just had this conversation with someone, or do I take the leap anyways,
mm-hmm,
and take the chance to go into something that, it might work? I had the conversation with a professional. She had a very stable job. And she said, I have this opportunity with a startup, and she was deciding, trying to make the decision with me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people will be in that space where, because of the context, they will say, no, I'm not going to take risks now. But then, as we know, there's always something external that tells us, well, now is not the good time. Well, right now it's a recession, or right now it's a virus, or right now, maybe I just had a baby, if you're a lady, or you can always find excuses. And I think,
absolutely,
we have experience working in human resources. I think at some point it's never the right time. I think you just have to make decisions and just follow through with them, but really make decisions, heart-based decisions. And I think those tend to lead you to better outcomes than trying to fit in, and we go back to, how people see us.
Yes.
And that's a big burden in coaching, because sometimes people are stuck on that, and they can't make the decisions that's right for them. So
yeah, that's true. And that's for me both a threat at the moment, because definitely some companies will have a very difficult time at the moment. And comparing to the question we had from Vladislav just before, if I look at hotels, restaurants, the tourism jobs, those jobs will have a tough time. And job holders will have a tough time. And as always, tough times are there to also force us to take what you say, the big leap and the decision to say, versus the past security. Now the past security is gone. So maybe that's the right time for me to take that big decision that was in my head for a while. So the crisis has brought both uncertainty, but also has forced us to take decisions for which we always had good excuse, whether too young, too old, too new, too much something, or not enough something. which are excuses until we are forced. And that's where you see the three categories of people: those who jump into the unknown and then think, others who prepare thoroughly until they make the jump, and those who will watch others making the jump but won't themselves. And in terms of crisis, that's always the same situations. It applies to both companies and to individuals. Those who will use the current crisis and the current context to ask themselves the right questions and to reinvent themselves, or partly or fully. And those who will just expect others to take decisions and to help them, whether it's the government, whether it's the employer, whether it's somebody else, but not themselves. And we will see that in the coming months. It has started already, for sure.
Yeah, I know when there's a change, there's of course jobs that may disappear or be eliminated, but then there's also a lot of creations. So for example, now that we work from home, you see many companies providing online services. It's popping all over the place. So in a way, I think, and some entrepreneurs are already saying it, this is the great way to start a business or to create, as long as it's relevant, of course. But in the worst times, there's always people who are going to do very well.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to keep remembering, is that even difficult times don't mean difficult times for everybody. Some people will actually see the opportunity. And maybe that was going to lead me to my next question, is what type of skills could help people embrace this change? So I see definitely being able to see the opportunity. So that's where we have a role as consultants, coaches, to help people embrace this change, maybe see opportunities. That's also a skill.
Yes.
And what do you see as other skills that would help people make this big step forward?
It would be to be aware of their fears, aware of their financial situations and financial freedom, to be clear. The skill to, I would say, to ask for help when they need, and it can be professional help, like yourself, like myself, as professional coaches, but also help from financial advisor, help from colleagues who have set up their own companies and have experienced that. So it's the skill also to admit where you need help and where you don't need help. It's the skill to manage priorities and time, because when you have ideas coming in and out, is to be able to focus and to prioritize what is urgent, what can be done or not. The skill to be a self-starter and take initiative and be responsible and feel responsible of your career and your future. And the steps of pausing and reflecting, the step of charging energy, whether it's physical, emotional, or intellectual energy, and then take the step to move forward, even if it's mini step, but to not get stuck into either over reflection or being paralyzed by fear, and think, well, I do that later, or I will wait until somebody is doing that for me. So the three steps of thinking, reflecting, pausing, charging, and be healthy in many ways, and balanced, and move forward step by step with a plan, will be definitely needed to move forward. And test and pilot. When you pilot and test, then you can always adapt. When you want to make it perfect, or when you wait for the perfect time and environment, then there are chances it's never going to happen. So I wouldn't say you can test everything without risk, but do a few tests, or ask for, explore the market, document yourself, take your learning cap and see what is available. Not only looking at the way you were doing things before, not looking in LinkedIn or in JobUp and so on for jobs, but looking at what the market is doing. Whether you are a florist and your shop is closed, you can deliver the flowers on the doorstep of your clients. is not changing entirely. It's just changing the way you serve and deliver your services, more than changing entirely. But it does require a change mindset. Absolutely.
Yeah, how to do things differently than what you used to, I think, is the key word that comes into place.
Yeah.
And I showed this change of paradigm also in my workshop this weekend, where now I think we're also embracing, and that's my personal belief, and I share it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see things, is that we're going really the solopreneur way. I think there will be companies, there will always be some companies, but I see more and more people being their own business, because I think especially after you have enough experience, you think, well, I have the skills, I understand my market, why do I need to be in a company setting? So, and because we're going through this transition where we have now online tools that we didn't have when I started my career, certainly. So we had to go the big company route and we had to work there. But now, because there's all these infinite options, that you can be independent now and you can make a living. So I think that's also what I'm promoting, as one of the solutions in career reinvention, is to look into, and again, it's not everyone will be ready for it, and it might take some more time. But I really see that the solopreneur, entrepreneur, starting their own thing online is one of the options of career change, because there's so many things now that you can do, and I will release a video on that, all the jobs that you can do online now, and you have a lot of platforms where you can set yourself up, so you don't need an actual business setting in a company.
No, absolutely. You can start quite quickly. The more preparation, the more exploration of what your potential customers might need will definitely be helpful, so that you not only start but remain in business for a number of years. And again, when you say solopreneurs, sometimes it has scared some of my clients. So, yeah, but I don't want to be solo. I don't want to be alone. But it's not because you're a solopreneur that you are alone. For instance, I work in an ecosystem way, where I work with other entrepreneurs and have partners, so that the competencies, the skills, the experience can be combined. But also, when you're an entrepreneur, you can and you need to have exchanges with other people who understand your reality. So to become now an entrepreneur, I fully agree with you, is much more simpler and available to many of us, because we have help from governments, we have help from organizations, we have help from working in an ecosystem. There's more and more co-working places, so you don't have to have an office. You can work from home. You can be on the roads. You can become a solo gardener and offering your services to. So you don't need an office for that, and you can do your accounting from home. There's a huge number of possibilities. It just needs some education on how to create your business and how to make it sustainable, enjoying it. And making a good living in a different way. And again, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but is becoming definitely a trend for a lot more people than we have seen in the past. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why the difference is between maybe the notion of entrepreneur, where you're actually building a whole business, and more the freelancer, where you're working for yourself, and usually you work with others as well, and you partner with others in your activity. So this is where I really see a lot of potential, is more freelancing, solopreneurship, which is a little bit similar in my view, and being able to build those partnerships. And again, now platforms online help to connect people. I see a lot of groups for in my communities, I see a lot of groups for independent workers, solopreneurs, freelancers, whatever you want to call them, where you can find clients, you can find people who can help you, because at one point you need other services. You can't do everything by yourself. So that's how I see a little bit the future of work, which is one of my favorite topic. And again, not everyone will be sharing my opinion. That's why I welcome comments under this video. I actually had someone in CERN in Switzerland who said, I completely disagree with you. I'm like, well, that's great. It's great to hear other people's opinion. But yeah, I mean, different people have different views on the future of work, but I see things going definitely digital, and that has been going on now for quite some time. And with that, because you work digital, then you don't need to go to an office anymore, and people will have their different idea of what's the ideal situation. Some people will want to work in Thailand. I see a lot of the YouTubers now, they're completely location free. They work in beautiful countries everywhere. They change every 6 months location, and they build their own digital products or services. And I see that being the future, because once you know how to do it and people embrace this, I think now there's still a lot of lacking of know-how. People don't know how to build online businesses necessarily. So there's that part. There's the fear factor of, location free, but that means how do I work? And people are not completely okay with that. But once we move through that big step, basically, I think people will realize it's great. I really think so.
Well, I really see the difference between young entrepreneurs. When I say young, it's not in terms of age, but those who start the entrepreneur life, it can be my age or it can be much younger. Those who succeed are usually those who are very clear on their why they do that. And those who generally are not so successful is they do it because they have nothing else. And my advice is would definitely don't start a business by default, because you have nothing else, but start your business because you have a strong conviction that why you do it is important for other people and for yourself. And the other thing is to be clear on your capacity and what you can do and where you need help. Whether, some people are great at marketing, but not so great in administration. Others are, the other way around. So get help where you don't have all the skills or the strengths. And there will be, of course, implications for the new nomad entrepreneurs who can work anywhere where they have Wi-Fi access, in terms of taxation, in terms of work permit, and so on.
Which will create jobs, by the way.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So. Fully agree with you. The working environment is changing massively. It will never be the same as before, and some things will adapt. And there is a seat as an employee, as a corporate employee, as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur. Or a portfolio career. These possibilities are now current possibilities and definitely future possibilities. And work doesn't mean being an employee in the same company for a long period of time anymore. So things are definitely changing, absolutely.
How do you see the Swiss embracing all these changes? Because it's, again, it's more of a conservative mindset.
Yes, I think there's a part of tradition in Switzerland, which I think is quite nice. But Switzerland is also one of the most innovative country, but we don't seem to speak a lot about it. Innovation or success is kind of a taboo thing to talk about at times. So I see both. Some industries are very innovative in Switzerland, and some people are too. And I would say it depends. It depends on the canton. It depends on the industry. It depends on the people themselves. I see both. The beauty is when we can use the tradition of Switzerland in terms of being professional, being serious, being precise, quality. All that is part of the cultural of Switzerland, but also the ability to create solutions that are out of the norm, that are innovative, does happen as well. But maybe we don't make so much noise about it. That's the difference.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's more discreet, I think, in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. It's on the opposite, in Anglophone countries, people tend to be a little bit more in the front end, yes. Communicating more. I think communicating much more. And maybe that's something that that the Swiss will improve also and show a little bit more about what they can do and be part of that innovation.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
want to see
absolutely.
innovation for sure. We want to see it and hear about it.
And we need it. We need to evolve. You know, one step forward it does not mean staying where you are, and we can't afford to stay where we are as individuals and as companies. We need to move forward. Those who don't move forward will be laggers at some point. So you know, you need to be ahead of the game and make your own step forward at all times, not to be left behind. And that's valid both for companies and for individuals.
But the great news is I've seen a lot of webinars lately and online events where people promote, you know, different activities going on in Switzerland and initiatives.
Yeah.
So I think there will be some of that. The fact that it's online and digital, I think it will develop online events. I see a lot more now. Because in a way, it's very easy to put in place, and you don't have to be, you know, present in a room like you would in a big conference, you know, in person.
Yeah.
So I think people who are a little bit more shy or in the back end, you know, they would feel comfortable with online events.
Yes.
Maybe.
No, for sure. It is a possibility that we have at disposal now.
So I'm very happy to see that. Any last comments about how we can survive all this?
It probably is about the uncertainty management and change management. And with change, there is uncertainty always. So to manage uncertainty would be to be aware of how you handle uncertainty, is to also not wait for the environment to bring you certainty, but build confidence from within. To do many steps, because one step, you know, uncertainty comes from the questions, what's going to happen to me in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years from now? But if we all focus on what is possible this week and that we can influence and impact directly, it's one way of reducing the feeling of uncertainty, and take actions, take responsibility, and move forward step by step, you know, day after day, and be confident that through actions things will come up, and not being stuck into the brouillard, the midst of uncertainty and doubt and lack of confidence and questions for which we will never have the answer.
Yeah, we have to accept this uncertainty and not let it us being stalled, basically.
Absolutely. And there's many realities, and it's not so much the reality, but what we do with the context that will make the difference.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Embrace the change and go step by step, one little bit after one little bit, and
yes,
move along with it. Well, it's great. I will put some information about you and your website. I think it's already there, but I will make sure your website is also there, so that people can come to you if they have questions about career reengineering. So it was very nice to spend this time with you.
Thanks, Isabel. It was a pleasure.
And we'll stay in touch anyways.
Yeah, for sure.
Have a good lunch.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.